The dark does not destroy the light, it defines it. It's our fear of the dark that casts out our joy into the shadows. This is the story of the disciple, also known as Anne, a woman devoted to her faith, yet ensnared by the misguided convictions of a community. Her journey led to a sorrowful demise and an unexpected rebirth under a different creed. To grasp this narrative, we must first dive into Anne's early years. Raised in a seemingly loving Christian family during the late 1800s, Anne probably lived a regimented life. The church held a special place in her heart, especially for Anne and her mother Hannah, as revealed through written letters we see later in her life. However, idyllic days gave way to ominous times. A mysterious disease swept through the region, leaving death in its wake. The specific ailment remains unknown. Was it cholera, scarlet fever, or smallpox? What we do know is that the disease was fatal for many. Disciples' plague deduction note mentions this. An outbreak of unknown disease has afflicted various regions lately. Symptoms include vomiting, spasms, and a high fever. The mode of transmission remains shrouded in mystery. Remarkably, Anne herself escaped the epidemic, yet fate had other plans. A particular illness changed her physically. Her eyes, once ordinary, underwent an extraordinary transformation. The initial lore text cryptically states, Anne's eyes became unusual as a result of a peculiar illness. To make matters worse, a regional plague broke out at the same time. But what precisely changed? A revelation lies hidden in her trailer video and the developer's response to a community question. Anne suffered from polychloria. The term combines the word poly and chloria, poly meaning multiple and chloria meaning pupils. Her eyes had developed a secondary pupil, and we assume the change made it seem from a distance like she had the elongated pupils of a cat. This change posed a grave dilemma for Anne and her family. Surrounded by devout Christians during the weekly gatherings, rumors and superstitions began to swirl. What could the reason be behind this sudden and frightening change in a seemingly kind-hearted Christian girl? The late 1800s, though not a period of witch hunting as crazy as the 1400s, harbored their own shadows. The police had managed to stop the majority of attacks and so-called witches, but beneath the surface, superstition and a hyper-awareness and obsession with the devil and evil in the general community led to a lot of behind-the-scenes abuse of people considered to be witches. The abuse was both physical and mental. Within the church's once loving circle and among the townsfolk, whispers took root, dark gossip about Anne. As the region's affliction deepened, so too did the shadows over Anne's life. Her mother Hannah succumbed to the rampant disease, and as she languished, whispers of Anne's evils spread like wildfire. The community's fear painted her as a bringer of doom, a demon in their midst. We read this in one of Disciples' Character Day letters, the letter written by her father, titled A Hastily Written Letter. It reads, They are trapped within the flaws of man. They engage in self-denial and oppress others in the name of God. They are skilled at fabricating the light. They use the light to mask their ignorance, and they consider themselves saints. If they truly are saints, how could they slander my daughter, whom I raised for many years as a host of the devil? The local church now twisted its teachings into a weapon of fear and hate. The church wasn't the only one to betray Anne's trust and be led astray by a contortion of the church's core beliefs, as we read further in the same letter. How could they think my poor devout wife died because of blasphemy? My poor Hannah was still praying even in her last moments, praying to atone for those non-existent sins of our daughter. Despite the sting of her mother's doubt, Anne's loyalty never wavered. She remained a steadfast presence by Hannah's side, a scene captured in the commandment deduction. In a meticulously decorated room, a girl is crying by a woman's bedside. In the corner, a man is praying to a cat-shaped idol placed in a shrine. This detail, a meticulously kept room, might seem meaningless to you, yet it holds the key to an understanding of Anne's heritage. Another clue that the center of attention deduction unveils. All of the property is inherited by their only daughter, including the houses and the land in their possession. Together, these pieces paint a portrait of wealth and status, positioning Anne's family among the town's elite. Keep that little detail in your back pocket for now. The more obvious and strange detail in that first deduction is the detail of the man praying to a cat-shaped idol. This man, Anne's father, grappled with declining mental health, a consequence of his wife's illness and Anne's transformed eyes, of course. In a heartfelt letter to Aunt Laura, Anne revealed the depths of her father's descent. As you know, my father's state of mind declined after my mother fell ill. He seldom interacted with others and even stopped going to church altogether. But one day he brought home this peculiar cat-like idol from who knows where. Her father had lost all faith in the church. Earlier letters hinted at his disillusionment, but where did this cat idol originate from? An answer lies within the hastily written letter addressed to none other than Alva, the IDV hunter known as Hermit. To my loved ones, my brother in faith, and the noble and reasonable Alva, I offer my gratitude for the truest wisdom, the revelation of the Eye of Darkness. The Eye of Darkness is a very complicated topic for us to learn about right now. For now, focus on its association with the strange cat-like idol that haunted Anne's home. During her mother's bedridden days, her father's prayers echoed through the house. Yet, despite his dedication, Hannah succumbed to the disease, leaving Anne to fend for herself. Her father's erratic behavior intensified. He stowed away the cat temporarily, only then to bring it back out when Hermit arrived to their home. Together, Alva and Anne's father knelt before the idol. Anne was very confused, angry, and also felt a sense of betrayal. All her father did was pray about her daughter to this cat idol that Anne described as black as pitch with two glinting yellow eyes. One could easily mistake it for a living cat. Anne assumed the mantle of responsibility. Two little lambs, Dory and little Sam, depended on her care. Their recent illness weighed heavily on her, as she wrote in a letter to Aunt Laura. Meanwhile, her father communicated with Hermit, professing an unwavering devotion to the Eye of Darkness. His letter said, "The Eye of Darkness is the eye of the universe. It is one with the universe and born from darkness. It hides the truth in the dark to prevent the light from masking it." He was also planning to leave with Anne to go and live a clean and peaceful life in the country. But sadly, Anne's father apparently contracted the same deadly disease his wife did and passed away before he could achieve that goal, leaving Anne absolutely alone. All of this stress and grief slammed down on her. She was suffering from survivor's guilt, as we can see in her deduction of the same name. We see how the villagers were making her situation even worse, as now they accused her of bringing the plague not only to kill the villagers, but also to rid herself of her parents. She received threats like the one we see in her possession deduction that reads, "A note wrapped around a stone. The handwriting on the note is childish and sloppy. Get out of our town. They said it was you who brought the plague. You killed my mother." Desperate for help, Anne sought help from doctors and priests, yet their misguided superstitions only fueled her paranoia. One physician diagnosed her with stress-induced hallucinations, only to conclude that she was possessed by a demon. A priest from her church claims to have attempted to pray away the evil, only to state the demon still remained. Her once devout faith now crumbled. The church community, once her sanctuary, now turned its back on her. They whispered of demons and curses, and she started to resent the church and faith as a whole, probably feeling similar emotions that her father had felt whilst he wrote to Alva, accusing the townspeople of oppressing others in the name of their self-created truth, fabricating light to hide their true intentions. The light is a very important word here, as this becomes the thing that Anne begins to hate the most. She begins to associate light with faith and the church, something very fitting when the alternative to this faith is the religion her father fell into, the so-called Eye of Darkness, which attempts to hide the truth from the light. But for Anne, the light held a double meaning. Polychloria, the condition that gifted her with multiple pupils, also gave her an acute sensitivity to light. The very concept of light she despised now caused her physical pain, a cruel irony. Yet there was more to Anne's torment. Hidden within the center of attention deduction lay a revelation: her father's wealth. Multiple houses and land holdings made them desirable targets for the townsfolk. One extra detail of that deduction is in the initial description of that note that reads, "Envy, pity, jealousy. You never know why they are staring." Perhaps their superstitious accusations were just a smokescreen, veiling their greed. They hoped Anne would abandon her inheritance, allowing them to swoop in and claim her wealth. Despite the crushing weight of stress and survivor's guilt, Anne still persisted. She still had enough energy and motivation to make a trip to the church in the darkness of moonlit night. Why did she still venture towards the church? Maybe because of habit, or maybe just a desperate plea for salvation. She too believed herself possessed. Yet fate intervened. The wilderness, a desolate expanse, became her final path. There, an unseen attacker struck. A wooden stake, shaped like a cross, pierced her body. The wound didn't claim her life immediately though, but as she lay bleeding in the moon's embrace, a pair of yellow eyes appeared from the darkness. Their whispered promise echoed. I can make your wish come true once you've sacrificed your last bit of faith. Clad in blood-soaked black, she accepted. The Eye's avatar perched on her shoulder, gifting her the sacred artifact known as the vertical pupil. Her mission, inscribed in her reflection diary, echoed with unwavering resolve. I will not fail the gifts I've received from the darkness, and I shall complete the challenge to prove my faith. With this newfound power, we see that Disciple took her revenge on her haters as she moved from city to city, bringing the plague with her, confusing newspapers as they saw the death toll rising in only certain cities in the region. Was the first plague that killed her mother and father actually brought as a way of steering Anne's faith and devotion towards the cause of the cat-like idol? Weeks later, we find that Alva had taken the young Disciple to the elitist manor, to the Identity V trials that we get to play ourselves in-game. There, she continued her earnest and deep dedication to the Eye of Darkness, and she resolved to become the sun to punish those who want to approach the truth.